authors, filmmakers, entertainment, and all your listening needs. Listen now to Talknow Radio, where no topic is taboo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talknow Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man. And today, Bret Odom is making a return. Me and him had discussed this on his prior show with me, that we might come back and talk about Paranormal Halo today, and him and his wife and how they team up on their paranormal investigations. So that's what we're going to be doing for tonight. And also, since the last time, I put up his link to his Facebook page. If y'all scroll down below the chat room, and his is about the third show down because I've already did a couple of 3 shows this week. Well, one yesterday and one earlier today. Would make him number 3 down on the line. You'll see his picture, the book cover, and underneath that he's got his link, www.childrenofthegraves.com, and then under that his Facebook link. And also you'll see his bio and his book description and a link to his book over at Amazon.com. If y'all going to want to buy his book, I'd appreciate you click through there to get it. Since, like I've said before, I do get a commission for that, and I wouldn't push you to buy anything, but if you're doing it anyway, that's a good way to get to it. So how are you doing today, Bret?
I'm doing great tonight. Appreciate you having us back on so soon, and bringing Gina on here to talk about some of our paranormal work.
Well, I got to tell you, I was really glad to have you back, especially after the last time we talked. You were such a fascinating guest, and I noticed that we were following a trend of speculation without actually, whether we agreed or not wasn't really the important factor. We was able to discuss with each other without having to actually come to war with each other, in other words.
Yeah, imagine that.
And that's kind of rare. And when I find that in a person, I kind of enjoy it,
Yeah. Well, that's the way a person learns, and this field is so complex. Whether you're dealing with the alien abduction phenomena, UFOs in general, or even the spirit world and the stuff that we do with that, with the spirit communication, it's just really complex, and there's a lot of different theories out there on all of it. And I think it's important that everybody respects other people's opinions, and we've found that we have learned from a little bit of something from, everybody's got something to offer. So, and nobody's got all the answers. And I think that's the way we can progress, all of our knowledge in this field.
Well, certainly. I think there's a lot of food for thought, and the mind would be awful bored without nothing to think about.
That's true.
So, Gina, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Hello, I'm Gina. I'm the other half of Halo Paranormal. Bret and I are husband and wife team. I appreciate you having me on tonight, Royce.
Oh, I'm pleased to have you on. I'm glad to meet you. And I wanted to also ask you now, if I'm correct in understanding this, your team is called Halo Paranormal Investigation?
Correct. But the team just consists of me and Bret. So
far.
Well, no, I think that's going to be it.
Oh, that is going to be it.
We work with other people, but sometimes we just do stuff. It's just us. We have some people we do some stuff with on a regular basis. It just depends. But there's other times that we just work on our own. And we periodically get invited by other teams in the area to go on investigations. We just kind of depends on what's going on.
But people know us as a husband and wife team. We do like freelance, with other people.
Right. Well, that's good. So, on this here, do y'all mainly just stick to, say, the ghost and haunting, or do y'all also cover other forms of, because from my understanding of paranormal is anything pretty much unexplained, would cover a lot of areas other than just ghosts.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're interested in all aspects of the paranormal, and we enjoy researching and investigating anything paranormal.
So y'all spend a lot of time reading books and on the internet and maybe talking to other people?
Yes, all of that, especially talking with other people or talking with people who've had experiences. We get a lot of people who contact us and, sometimes they don't, there's nothing really to investigate. They just want to tell us what happened to them.
Yeah, they're just trying to make sense of it. A lot of times they're confused or they're afraid. That's one of the things that we do try to teach people is fear is your worst enemy in whatever you're dealing with. So, and try to explain the best we can. There's so much stuff out there that with Hollywood portraying everything to be demonic and there's UFO people that everything's demonic, the Greys are demons, the reptoids are demons. Everything's a demon or the devil's responsible. And, it's got this whole mindset. People are scared out of their minds with, sometimes the simplest stuff. I mean, there was a time that we once got a clip sent to us, a video clip, and, the guy swore that he had captured a demon on audio, and we could clearly tell it was the guy's stomach growling, but he was so, but that's how ridiculous it gets sometimes because people just get so caught up in all this Hollywood stuff and a lot of the, everything just seems to play to that aspect of it. And it's really a shame because, quite frankly, we've been in about every kind of extreme haunting situation that you could possibly imagine, everything. And not once ever have we ever encountered anything that we thought was demonic. Negative, yes. People's personality, we always say if they're a jerk on this side, usually carries over and most of the time gets enhanced, on the other side and that type of thing. And they might tell us that they're a demon and stuff like that. But all this stuff, people getting thrown against walls and all the stuff that Hollywood does. I mean, it's just never happened to us. I mean, we've never seen any evidence, of that, in anywhere we've ever been, so a lot of times people, that's the first conclusion they want to jump to instead of just being rational about it and really figuring out, just like that guy did, and they don't like hearing I'm sorry, but that's your stomach growling, because they want it to be something demonic for some reason, but we just haven't ran into that kind of thing.
Well, I can understand that, but I would also need to ask at this point, what exactly do you think you might run into one of these investigations that you might consider demonic?
It would have to be pretty extreme evidence, I believe, because just capturing EVPs or hearing something clear where something tells you it's a demon, that doesn't really prove anything to us. We would have to be, it would have to be something like what I was just talking about, like the portrayal of real power, because we believe that humans, we have the authority in our domain here, to basically control everything in our domain. And, we've been in houses where the family's left. They're so afraid. And it's just ridiculous because they don't understand that they do have the authority to take, they can take back what's theirs, but they live in fear, and anything negative that's out. We're not saying there's a negative stuff out there, but it's going to feed on fear. That's why we work very small. We're very selective on who we do anything with, for one thing, because if we do run into something dark there, it's going to go right to the weakest person or the person who's exhibiting the most fear, and we just don't want to be responsible for that. And so that's, one of the reasons that we do work small, because the people that we do things with know how to handle themselves and know how to handle that kind of situation and basically aren't going in there just scared out of their minds. Right.
Well, even a dog, and this could be taken the wrong way and I hope it ain't, but even a dog will smell fear and you'll become a weak target. Any thief, mugger, rapist will target the people they think are afraid before they will the people they think are not afraid. It's a well-known fact that fear is like a big neon sign that attracts all negativity to you.
Yeah, exactly. We firmly believe that. And it isn't like we haven't been startled before and stuff like that, but we we try our best not to exhibit any type of fear under any circumstances whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I believe that having fear or not controlling your fear, not overcoming it, facing it, is just like giving something psychological control over you and power over you.
That's exactly what happens. I mean, and you're right. They sense it and they use that against you.
Which in that case, almost anything could seem demonic, even if it wasn't, especially when viewed through the eyes of fear.
Oh yeah, because when you're panicking and you're in a high state of fear, everything gets enhanced. Everything gets it escalates it feeds on itself, and just it keeps increasing to the point that you can't even rationally think anymore. So, I think a lot of times it can if anything is there like that, and it could just be simply somebody just being a jerk on the other side and taking advantage of that because they sense that weakness.
Well, then, too, you don't know what circumstances people died under and why they might want to be a jerk on the other side.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of bitter, confused people there. I mean, ghosts are everywhere. I mean, that's one thing. It doesn't have to be some old, haunted, creepy-looking house. It can be land. It can be attachment to objects, attachment to people. But one thing is they are everywhere. I mean, they're places that you would never imagine. There's a lot of lost, confused souls around.
Well, I've often thought, and I could be wrong, that if you go back to the days of Egypt, like I was saying earlier about that book, The Point of View, well, that's not in the Point of View book, but our talk did. If you go back to that, if they realized back then when they were creating monotheism, the effect that fear had on people, and they did not want people coming to God that say it was a false religion, well, then it would be easy to install fear of the spirit world and keep people away from God if they had any hope of ever getting to God.
Mm-hmm.
You make them afraid of the very thing they want or they need.
Yeah, fear is control. There's no doubt about it.
So, you have to ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? And should I be listening to just anybody that says this is no good, or should I investigate it myself?
Yeah, I mean, that's, there's a lot of people out there who say they don't believe in ghosts until, there's always that until. We've had so many people like, I never believed in ghosts, but one night, Grandma came to the side of the bed, and that changed my whole perspective. It happens so much like that. Like, once someone experiences something firsthand, everything shifts because they can't, they're forced to deal with it then because it's either something that they've physically experienced or with equipment, but most of the time it's usually just it's an apparition that they've actually seen something unexplainable move or something like that, and then their whole view changes.
There's a listener in the chat room that was a prior guest of mine, goes by the nickname of Cajun Ghost Hunter, and he's been listening to a lot of my shows, and he put something in the chat room that I thought you might find interesting. He says here, if you're interested in EVP, watch this video, and he has a link to a YouTube video on here. It tells the history going back to the 50s and even tells how Pope Pius XII recognized an EVP captured by two priests on magnetic tape while taping Gregorian chants. It is the most informative educational documentary that I've seen yet on the subject.
Forward to us if you could. That does sound really interesting. He's probably talking about a Swedish film producer named Fredrik Jurgensen. He's pretty much known as like the father of EVP. I believe it was like in 1959. He was out, 1959. He was out recording sounds for his film, which is how I think he was recording bird sounds at this particular time. And when he was going over his recording, and he recognized his dead wife calling his name, and then I believe another time that he caught what he thought was his father, and that was one of the first incidents of actual electronic voice phenomena, and he went on to write a book about it, and kind of started the whole thing going. And later, we do a lot of spirit box work, and that's one of the things we're kind of known for as EVPs. We do seem to capture a large amount of EVPs when we go on location, and we got into doing, it was called Ghost Box originally, but it's ITC, instrumental transcommunication. It's basically it's spirit communication through any form of electronic device. Because there's people that you've probably heard, say they, got a phone call and had a conversation and everything, and then find out later that the person had passed like 3 or 4 hours before that, and different things like that. The Ghost Box is generally we like to call it a spirit box. It just sounds more respectful, but it's communication through a radio with the scan button disengage, and through the white noise, the ghost used the frequencies to communicate. And when we first heard about it, we were pretty skeptical. To be quite honest, I mean, we were like, I don't know. But we decided to give it a try, and people were telling us to take all these precautions, and it was extremely dangerous and everything like that. And they're actually right. It does seem to open up a portal, and I wouldn't recommend anybody doing it without reading up on it first and protecting yourself properly.
Yeah, because I seen on a documentary where this lady did actually draw negative spirits to herself doing the same thing you're talking about. And I don't think that means you shouldn't get EVPs. I think you're talking pardon me, the right way versus the wrong way to do it. I'm sorry about that.
No, and there is a way to do it, and we work with a guide that we found that after about 3 weeks of experimenting with this, we kept getting the same person, and we asked them, will you help us on that side? And they've been with us now for almost 4 years. The same person comes almost every session, and we kind of use that as a little protective barrier as well. He also helps us find when we're looking for somebody. We kind of act as electronic mediums of sorts, really, and a lot of times, we won't know that much about the people or anything. We'll get all this private information that can sometimes be quite revealing, that we've been even kind of like hesitant of telling the people what we found. But the thing is, we've heard our names. They've described like what we're wearing. We've had them read cue cards. But we've heard a lot of cuss words. People's like, well, you're catching radio. And after you do this for a while and you get direct responses, you realize you start to learn, first of all, what's radio and what's not. And it scans so fast, it's really easy to tell when you're getting a strong radio signal and you're just catching a word or so. We've got like full sentences before, but we've got spirits like cussing each other out, saying words that absolutely aren't going to be.
Kind of like you're eavesdropping on them.
Well, they all want to talk, and once they realize that we're carrying on a conversation, there's really a struggle. They want to be noticed. A lot of them are asking for help, or they're trying to get a message to somebody or something like that, and they get into it just like we do here. It's really no different. But we've had them, F you and F you back, and they've told us that kind of thing with our names by it, and it's just some amazing stuff. And we've contacted people that we didn't know, like nicknames and stuff like that. And we would say, well, they were talking about, Bubba or whatever, what the nickname was. And they're like, yeah, that's what we called my daddy and stuff like that. And we've just got thousands of files at this point. And it just been told amazing stuff.
Okay. Now I got to ask you, do you guys have a website y'all can post this stuff to?
We have a YouTube channel that we have a lot of our stuff on. It's just Halo Paranormal, one word. You can, look it up on YouTube. You can find our channel that way.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got some of the full voice EVPs on there, and we've got quite a bit of spirit box stuff on there, 3 or 4 different videos with quite a few samples on there of that. I mean, the spirit box stuff goes all the way back to Tesla. Nikola Tesla, I mean, he came out publicly and stated, that he was, felt that he was hearing voices, through the radio, and he was pretty much the only person with a radio. So, and even in the 1920s, Edison told Scientific American magazine that he was working on a machine to contact the dead, and if there was a way, it would be through radio frequencies. So we're talking two very brilliant minds, both coming out publicly stating that one that was possible and the other one was doing it. So, it's a shame that a lot of people try it and say, oh, it doesn't work. And, we always like, look, just because it didn't work for you doesn't mean it doesn't work. And a lot of it has to do with the operator, and you have to know audio software. You're only going to hear, maybe 25-30% in real time. But when you run it through the audio software and you start slowing some of this stuff down, because a lot of it comes in really fast, and you'll just get amazing stuff. I mean, it's and direct correlation to answers with different people. And a lot of times people will tell us that they've recognized the voice as the person who was communicating. So, and we did this many, many times with lots of different people and with a real high degree of success.
Okay. I also thought I would mention to you that the guy that was suggesting that documentary, he does his own EVPs, and he was on my show last Saturday, the Saturday before. My wife had asked him if he could contact her mother, and interestingly enough, although he asked her for her mother's name, so that he could contact her, that's all the information he asked for. And during the bits of conversation he sent us, the EVPs he sent us, she had mentioned that she had 4 kids. He had no way to know that. He couldn't have just made it up and then put it in there, in other words, and it be correct. And also mentioned their name Rick, which was one of my wife's stepdads.
Yeah. Is this through regular EVPs or through a spirit box?
A spirit box.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, that's the type of stuff that'll happen.
In fact, he's friends with Mike Hulbert Edwards, I think it is. I may have his name wrong. I haven't interviewed him in a while. But he has a Facebook page, or a group, should I say, that discusses this spirit box and new technologies going into it, and, the latest results of it and what have you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's great because a lot more people are starting to open up to it and experimenting. There's several different versions of ghost box, spirit boxes out there right now. And we've tried different things with it. We still have, going back to, they call them shack hacks, or just little Radio Shack units, and we still have some of our best results with that. And we've also found that the operator, whoever's conducting the session, like if we're in a group of people, we often get together down in Thompson Station, Tennessee, with our friend Sandy Nichols, and his house is really haunted itself, and he's just got it seems to be a really great area to do sessions, and we have a lot of good results there. And we often will get groups of people, and we've noticed, like, sometimes when we're with a core group of people that's been through this before, and everybody's sort of on the same wavelength, so to speak. A lot of them are kind of open psychically and things like that. It does seem to really improve the results, where if we go and there's somebody in there that's very skeptical and wants to scoff at everything and it seems to kind of disrupt, we'll still get results, but just not as good. So it seems like that a certain amount of psychic ability and openness plays into it quite a bit.
Yeah, I was just fixing to ask you what kind of research you and Gina were doing as far as ESP went.
Well, we're both very interested in that, and I've done some research about ESP, and telekinesis interests me as well.
Have either one of you ever seen a case of telepathic phenomena? Witness somebody moving something with their mind?
Not really. Not where they did it on purpose. I mean, we've seen it done where, like, sudden emotional burst, like light bulbs blowing out and things like that.
Right. Well, you know what? I have a book on my bookshelf by Michael Clarkson, called The Poltergeist Phenomena, where he documents many cases of adolescents having this emotional burst, right, and how refrigerators would come up in the air and cross the room, and chairs and, beds and everything, because he thinks this poltergeist phenomena is really a telepathic emotional burst coming from adolescents.
Well, we have read that is one of the theories of poltergeist activities. And the one case that Bret was referring to was a lady that we know. And she's an adult when this started happening, and it was only like 3 or 4 instances, but it was times where she was very, very upset about something. I mean, really angry. It was some kind of life-changing event. And she had, a light bulb. It didn't just blow, it exploded. And she would notice that when these things happened, it was when she was in a high emotional state. It wasn't anything that she was doing on purpose, but it just seemed way too much of a coincidence that when these things happened, that she was, very emotionally upset at the time about something. And she strongly felt like these explosions were happening because of her, and again, she didn't realize it until after the fact, but it wasn't something like she could direct or really control. She just knew that this was happening, at high states of, just agitation and anger.
It's just energy burst, and it's no different than an actual ghost, moving something. I mean, they have to use energy for that, and usually will draw upon either your own energy or, whatever energy they can. You hear all the stories about batteries being drained and stuff. And we've experienced that numerous times. I mean,
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it happens frequently. But it's just all a matter of energy exchange. But in this particular case, it wasn't something, it wasn't a controlled thing, but it was pretty remarkable to see.
Well, I was remembering the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze. In that movie, he had trouble moving things, and he wanted to be able to move things to, get his girlfriend's attention, let her know that he was there. And this one ghost had the ability, and he got him to show him how to do it. And that entailed the emotional factor. Kind of makes me think perhaps the people that directed that movie did their homework into this phenomena.
Yeah, and a lot of hauntings, Royce, are there. A lot of people confuse like a ghost trying to scare them, when a lot of times they're doing something like that. And if you think about it, if you passed over and you were trying to get a message or to comfort somebody or seek help for yourself because maybe you were confused or didn't transgress the way to where you were transition to where you were supposed to, you would do the same thing. You would try to turn lights off and on, move doors, make noises, bang on the walls, all the stuff that ghosts are famous for. And that's what it is. And a lot of times, and we found this out through capturing EVPs, that they're not trying to scare people. They're trying to get attention because for various reasons. Most of the time it's for help. They really want somebody to try to help them, because they're confused. But a lot of times, it could be they're just trying to get a message to somebody or comfort somebody. But it's always mistaken. It goes back to this fear again, but it's always mistaken, like, oh, my house is haunted, blah, blah. And it really could be, someone actually just trying to get your attention, because that's the only way they can. If they're strong enough to appear as an apparition, a lot of times, we would probably do the same thing, even if you had the ability. Well, you don't want to scare somebody out of their mind, and appear to them. But, sometimes that happens as well. That happened to my grandmother after my grandfather passed. She was really grieving And there was some unusual things happen, but she just kind of passed off, and she couldn't let go. And then